Really excited that you guys have agreed to um, join us this evening. I know that it's hard, and hopefully you have dinner in front of you and that you'll be able to relax because that's what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be enjoyable, relaxing, and maybe pick up some tips. So today we're going to talk about your emotional energy, that the mass, the pandemics, the changes, the uncertainty has really drained a lot of our energy. And we don't have a good place to kind of recoup that energy. And so maybe today we can talk a little bit about where you get your energy from and maybe some tips about restoring your energy, and just kind of enjoy being together with each other. If you have tips that you would like to share, please put them in the chat because I think we all learn from each other and that would be most helpful. And I will try to catch the chat pretty quick through different slide changes, but we definitely would love to look forward to hearing a little bit from you. So again, thank you for being here. As many of you know that we do this every month, September through April. And so we're talking about energy today. In February, we'll be back again on the 8th at noon and on the 15th at 6 p.m. and talk about uncertainty, because certainly we are there. We are headed to the third year of uncertainty, and we do need to talk about that. So hopefully that you will continue to join us, continue to dial in. And if you ever want to hear any of these again, or if you missed any of them, you can go to the wellness website and they are actually recorded and logged on to the website. So you can find them there. All right. So let's get started, as we always do, just kind of a grounding exercise, and the idea that you're coming from all different places, doing all different kinds of things, multitasking, texting, trying to catch up on emails. If we can just power that down for a few moments and settle in, that would be really good. So what I want to do is I want to talk just about a couple of things. One of them is being able to calm yourself. And in this time of uncertainty, that can be really helpful because a lot of times we're very crispy and we react instead of having that reasoning and logic. And so we want to be able to calm ourselves and use curiosity before we get to that reaction. And so one of the things you can do is just putting your hand over your heart. That is a message directly to your brain to kind of take stock in what's going on, be aware of your environment, be aware of what your body's telling you. Another thing is called a calming hold. So you take your right hand, putting it under your left arm, take your left hand up onto your shoulder, and you're going to press in those two areas, and that's actually a neural pathway that's going to give you a signal to calm. And so it doesn't look too uncomfortable or too odd if you just happen to have your arms like this, especially when you're in a situation that's stressful, and you take 3 deep breaths. So let's try that. In through your nose, out through your mouth, 3 deep breaths. If this is uncomfortable, go back to your hand over your heart, and then continue that deep breathing. And as you're breathing, see if you can bring up an image that's calming to you. It might be what's on your screen right now. It might be your favorite chair, a pillow, a spot in your house, on vacation, up in the clouds, just somewhere where you can imagine yourself being calm, relaxed, and feeling joy. I'd like you to close your eyes and hold on to that image for just a moment. And I'm going to read you through this. So I want you to settle in, be comfortable, and continue that deep breathing. Think of a person who's been kind to you. Could be a grandparent, a teacher, a parent, a friend, even a beloved pet. Allow yourself to feel the kindness, the warmth. Imagine this person, this being, gazing at you with understanding and kindness and compassion. Imagine them wishing you well, sending you a blessing, possibly saying these words: may you be safe and protected. May you be healthy. May you be held in kindness and compassion. Take that last deep breath and then stretch, and truly do that. Like stretch in front of you, stretch over your head, and stretch behind you, because a lot of us kind of don't take deep breaths during the day and we have our shoulders kind of hunched over. So take that last deep breath with your hands behind your back and your chest open. And that kind of brings you into the present. For any of you who have concerns with feeling overwhelmed or anxious, here's another tip for you. Think about the song Grateful by Jewel. It's on her website, Never Broken. She talks about feeling panic attacks coming on and how she shifts to sunlight. That's her thing, is sunlight coming through the trees. And so that's her way of kind of shifting a little bit. So each of us need to have that image that can bring us calm with those 3 deep breaths. And if you include looking out the window during the daytime and be able to see green, kind of that green gray, that's very calming to your brain. So that's just another way that you can calm yourself when things seem to be escalating or you feel anxious or feel overwhelmed. All right, so today we want to talk about the level of emotional energy that you might have. We want to talk about 2 ways maybe that you can think about that you use to meet your energy needs when you're stressed. Want to have maybe a plan to increase that energy, and hopefully through our talk we'll come up with something, and maybe 2 pathways that you'll come up with about support. And I will talk about the Wellness Center at the end. What's on your screen is a taxonomy that actually is emotional-based affective domain. And that's how we think about or work with emotions, attitudes, values, interests. And it starts, as usual, with the simpler feelings and then becomes more complex. But it's the noticing that's so important. In each of those domains, it's the noticing that's important. So emotional energy can show up as self-reliance, cooperative teamwork, and how you value those around you. So it's really important that you recognize what happens when your energy is low. Thinking about the words that we're going to talk about today is just energy being power from a source. So where do you get your energy? The emotions, things that glue people together. It does provide color to our life. Emotional energy, that feeling, that sensation that you get, that emotion, that anger, fear, joy, and the reaction that makes it specific. Emotional energy is neutral, but it's your interpretation that gives it the meaning of it. And we're all exhausted, but I want to remember Betty White. She was talking about sending soldiers off to battle in World War II, and she said it best when she said it was a strange time, out of balance with everything. And it really does feel like we're there again, that we can become emotionally drained if your emotions go unrecognized, unresolved, if you have low energy, and even low energy can be related to your diet, stress, or physical imbalances. About 70% of your energy drain is actually emotion versus physical. So that's really something to pay attention to. So thinking about who or what drains you is really kind of a good thing, a good way to spend a little time. I'm going to take a moment and take a look in the chat. And yes, we do have a recording going. Well, thank you for mentioning that. All right, so we want to talk about energy points or chakras. So I thought a lot about today's discussion, and when you're in crisis, you just can't add on new information, right? Your brain is just like full, mind full. And we have been in a crisis. Our cortisol levels have been so high, and hopefully they're starting to come down to pre-pandemic levels, but there's so much that is in the way between our reactivity and our reasoning in that prefrontal cortex. And we do want to, our goal is calm attentiveness, and we do want to bring our thinking to that attentiveness, to that prefrontal cortex. So that's so important. And you are resilient. You're here. That's a signal that you are resilient. You made a decision to do this for yourself, and that's a really good thing. So we're going to talk about energy, about recovery, rest, and restoring. And at each energy point we talk about, I would love it if you would add in ways that you have found successful for you. So right now, if you would just take a look at the colors that are in the hand on your screen and write down which color brings you energy. And when we get to that, see if that rings true for you when you hear what the components are of that color, all right? Okay, so now that you have that written down, I'm going to switch over and going to ask you to actually use your phone and go to menti.com, all right? So if you'll just go to menti.com for the moment, and there's a code on your screen. For those of you who are calling in, the code is 4344-1531. So it's menti.com, 4344-1531. 1531. And my first question is, what exhausts you? So out of all the things that happen in the world to you, what is it that exhausts you? And I'm going to switch over to Mentimeter, but I will repeat any information. I'll repeat the code if you need it. Okay. Now just give me a moment to switch over. All right. All right, so those of you who are dialing in, politicians is the #1 thing so far that exhausts you. And oh my gosh, we're ramping up again, aren't we? Yeah. So the larger the font, the more people are agreeing with that information. Definitely the news. And hopefully all of you have learned kind of a trick to only look at one news program or only listen to one news program a day, one that you feel comfortable with, that gives you accurate news. It's based in research, based in, good resources, so that you get your news and it's not competing with other news. And so that's a really healthy thing if you can think about boundaries around news. So boy, that's still staying in there, politicians and news. That's really something. I really appreciate somebody who said showing empathy all day. That is exhausting, isn't it? And it would be nice if somebody turned around and said, hey, you really do a good job at that, and I really appreciate you, right? So yes, know that what you're doing is of value, and for some people, that's the only compliment they get in the day. And so continue doing that, and hopefully feeling good about doing something for others will bring that endorphin release, and you will feel good about it. But it is exhausting, especially if you're not getting that recognition that you're doing that. So thank you for putting that in there. That's good. We talked about uncertainty a little bit. Yeah, adulting, huh? I don't want to be an adult. I'd like to step out for just a little bit. So yes, that's definitely in there. The uncertainties, the lack of sleep. So hopefully we'll catch a lot of that. I'm going to go on to the next question about what brings you energy. So hopefully on your phone screen, you'll see the next question about what brings you energy. So what is it that energizes you? Kind of like, what do you do when you're exhausted? I really enjoy music. And so that song that we played at the beginning is a really good way to quickly kind of bring up my energy. Definitely working out. Definitely, when you work out, you release endorphins. That feels good. So yes, music. So any action, it's like the action thing. And then the comforting, supportive family, your religion, definitely. Very good. Oh, fruits and veggies. The best thing about fruits and veggies is they're crunchy, and that has a satisfaction in your brain actually, and it helps you to feel full. So something crunchy is good, and definitely fruits and veggies are there. So that is a really good thing. Thank you for throwing that in there. That's great. Oh, daydreaming, yes, right? Having that image, that comforting space, and being able to go there for a moment, take those 3 deep breaths, that's really good. Kind words from others, absolutely. Getting a compliment is like having a good dessert, right? You can live on that for just a little while. It's good. For those of you who like music, hopefully you have a song that energizes you. It could be like your fight song that when you're feeling low, you pull up that song, you kind of hum it when you're walking down the hallway. Humming kind of massages your organs, so you're just like really feeling good. And it could be anything from This Is My Fight song to the song from Brave, or just anything like that is really good about music. So please continue to do that. Oh, and the person who said turn everything off, you are definitely on my side. What a relief that is, right? To finally just be done. Blue screens off, everything off. So definitely, very good. All right, so we're gonna go back to our talk and kind of resume our programming here. All right. And I appreciate everybody who joined in that. Thank you so much for doing that. I think that's always good to see where everybody is about exhausting and energizing. So let's talk just a moment about stress. We all know that we have stress. That's always going to be there. And there is positive stress, good things that happen, maturational stress, those kinds of things. But then we get into things that are like tolerable stress, that it's temporary, but it is pretty serious. And the fact that we do have some of those things that bring us energy, we have family, we have good relationships, that can kind of help us survive through that tolerable stress. But the biggest point about that is that it's temporary. And I think for a lot of us, we thought the pandemic was going to be a temporary stressor that we could deal with. And the fact that it hasn't ended, that it keeps mutating and doing different things, is really the exhausting part of that, that really brings that stress for some people into that toxic level. And I think that that's a really critical thing to think about, that if you have ongoing stress, you have high levels of cortisol that is really doing things to your cardiovascular system, to your inflammation. There are all kinds of things that prolonged increased cortisol does. And so to be able to recognize it in your body and be able to calm yourself, even just for a moment, or for a couple minutes, or for an hour, to be able to take time off and move away from whatever that is that feels toxic to you. If you don't make that shift from that toxic, that reactive type of thing, what happens is that you get stuck there and you find yourself agitated, irritable. You just feel a real drain. So you get stuck in that amygdala, which is the reptilian center in your brain, and that's that fight, flight, freeze. That's when you're reacting to things. If somebody bumps against you, you right away are afraid that they're going to do something. If somebody looks a certain way, or you can't read their face because they have a mask and you're worried, and right away you go into a little bit of a panic. Why are they here? What are they doing? What do I need to do? How do I get away? If you can't calm and move yourself to that prefrontal cortex, that's where the reasoning, the logic, that's where all that is. That's where the learning is. Social manners are actually in that prefrontal cortex. That making that shift is really important. And so you want to be able to stop and take a breath. If you feel yourself ramping up, take that deep breath, use curiosity. Why is this happening? And be able to shift yourself so you can reason. And that's a really important thing, because that chronic uncertainty is exhausting to our mental health, and we need to be able to think through that. So where do you store energy in your body? Pretty much all over. And the fact that it connects with your feelings. So you've got this energy source that's connected to your feelings. You think about where you store stress in your body, same places. So you have this competing thing about whether it's anxiety or it's energy, and you're able to shift that back and forth. And what's really helpful is if you're able to take regular breaks. Like for most people, every 90 minutes, you need to get up out of your chair and walk and do something else and come back. Every 20 minutes in a talk like this, which I think, well, we're almost at 20 minutes, what you would want to do is just for a moment, look away from the screen, gaze out about 20 feet if you can. It's dark out, I know, but if you can, gaze out about 20 feet for about 20 seconds, and that allows your neural pathway to shift. So you look out, you gaze, you change your gaze, you take that deep breath, allow your pathway to shift, and then come back. About every 20 minutes, do that, and that really allows you to be more alert. Multitasking does not keep you alert. The ability to shift that neural pathway is what allows you to reorient and not get distracted. So some of the things that we have are some roadblocks to energy and trying to refill our tank. And with these roadblocks, things like sleep issues, conflict, stress, your sense of dread about uncertainty, all those things increase. A lot of people actually overestimate how bad it is and underestimate their coping abilities. Because for most of you, you've been in a type of crisis before. And if you think about how you worked through it before, some of those techniques you learned are being able to apply to a current crisis. The problem is when it goes on and on for a long time is when you get that exhausted. So if any of you are really good at worrying, I've got a tip for you. Vanessa Von Edwards, she's got a talk on YouTube called The World Domination Summit from 2017. Vanessa Von Edwards. Listen to her. It's kind of like a TED Talk. and it's quite entertaining, especially for people who worry. There's this whole idea about your sleep, how critical it is that your brain files information at night. It doesn't learn anything new. And so if you shortchange it, it's not able to file the things you have learned during the day. Especially for those of you who are taking on a lot of knowledge right now when you're in classes and doing coursework and clinicals, you need that sleep to be able to file. Your eyes and your ears also need about 7 hours of dark in order to regenerate. So this is something you don't get back. If you sleep late on your days off and thinking you're going to catch up, you don't catch up. And so what you want to do is track yourself that you're not doing this more than 3 nights a week. And if you are, especially if you're working shifts, 12-hour shifts, and you're doing schoolwork, you're dealing with jet lag every week. It takes you about a week to come back and you're doing it again. And so the key to that is just to be able to set a time that you're going to get up every day within the same hour and go to bed within the same hour, whether you're working or not. But there's other things that a lot of times block your ability to restore your energy. So we'll talk about some of those things. And I think some of the things that are important is about your why, like why you're doing what you do and what problems do you feel that you are passionate about trying to solve. So if you're in the nursing program or the speech pathology program, or you're a neuro resident, or whatever brings you to your passion, you want to think about what is at that crossroads, the talents and the skills that you're learning. You also have to have the passion and values, and think about what your strengths are. And if I could ask you to write down 10 things that you love, just like really quick, like think in your mind, 10 people, places, things that you love. And so kind of the trick question about this is, where are you on that list? Okay. My hope is that you're on there somewhere. All right, so let's talk about powering up. Because we've had so much uncertainty, we want to be able to recognize emotions that you hold on to. Imagine the colors in your body as power centers. They're always changing. We go through 7 of the strongest centers or chakras to find a connection, maybe even get to know your why. When we get to the color that you wrote down, let's see if there's anything that's true for you. And so those of you who started out with red, so imagine that color red, a root instinct for survival. Red is at your base. So you want to clasp your hands at the base of your spine, near your tailbone, and sitting up straight, you feel your security in your power base. It determines your ability to feel calm, safe, and secure. Tension in this area might be due to holding on to anger or resentment. So kind of think about that. Kind of think about January as the time to clear that stuff out. Learn to turn that power to a creative force can be really rewarding. Maybe having a discussion about anger or things that you're hanging on to, maybe practicing a scenario where you forgive and move on can be very freeing. You might think of this as a stoplight. It brings your attention to safety. It tells you to slow down, be present, help you to remain safe. You can do guided meditation if red is your power color. You can think about the tensing and relaxing of your muscles, and we'll do one of those exercises in the last 5 minutes of this discussion. And bring yourself to awareness. And one of the things, a really easy thing you can do for wellness is buy yourself a new pillow. All right, that can be a red thing. Allow yourself to move, talk, and maybe think about your certainty. If orange is your color, that's 2 inches below your belly button, your sacral area. And that governs your emotions, your creativity, sexuality, emotional well-being. It gives off feelings of warmth and excitement. You can express feelings without being overly emotional. But if blocked, you might not feel open to others. You might feel like isolating, or you might feel like you're emotional all the time. You can also hold fear in this area. You need to acknowledge your feeling, talking it out, consider your choices. The more you express in words, the less of a hold it can have in your body. So you might be somebody that needs to write it out, that if you're having fears, you're having worries, to write. Just sit down and write, and that will feel good. If you're experiencing low back pain, low energy, cramps, that can be because this area is blocked. You might have what's called the swan effect, where you have that envy of everybody seems like they've got it together, what's wrong with me? And really, if you looked under the surface, you would see that everyone's paddling like crazy. They all look calm on the surface, but they're going like crazy underneath. So to reconnect, include water. So take a bath, swim. If you've got a chance, go to the beach if you can get away. Even hip circles in your daily stretching would be a really quick add to your wellness. And the idea about wellness and wellness tips and self-care is that it's easy. It doesn't take a lot of time, effort, or energy. And so adding those hip circles, I'm hoping that you do take some time in the morning to stretch a little bit before you grab your phone. And maybe adding those hip circles might be helpful to you. All right, what about yellow? How many people find yellow their power color? All right, so that's in between your navel and your sternum, your solar plexus. It's the warmth of the sun. You have motivation and willpower. It focuses on your gut and stored emotions. You can eat yellow colored food like sweet potatoes, yellow peppers, and corn to help tap into that energy. But if it's blocked, you could feel indecisive. If it's overactive, you feel aggressive. Things that can help is belly dancing, any kind of exercise, short meditations, kind of like the one I did earlier about thinking of that being that warmth and that kindness. Affirmations like, I am enough, I have purpose, I am strong, capable, and powerful. That mantra of I can. Consider the light of a candle, that yellow glow, as a focal point for you, because the power of a single candle can calm you. And it can also light 1,000 other candles without ever diminishing its energy or its flame. So use that candle as that power, as that feeling, that sense of meaning for those of you who connect with yellow. All right, how about green? Green is really interesting because it's our part of our environment, but we definitely want to be able to connect with green. So that's the center of your chest. Hand over your heart. Take a breath. Imagine your heart with an emerald green light around it. Energy in this area is tied to green, to being outside. The color green-gray is a very calming and energizing color. That's a great color to consider if you're repainting your bedroom. It represents the ability to give and receive love. People who connect with green enjoy service to others, kindness, health, and healing. The need to mourn losses is also held here. Someone has hurt you, the end of a relationship, as well as the death of a loved one. Attending to your broken heart and honoring your sadness is an important tool in restoring your energy. That green-gray, again, is something about the outside. And so enjoy that, whether you're looking outside every 20 minutes in that 20/20 rule, or you're getting yourself outside, even on those cold days, is very restorative to you. Okay. All right, stimulating blue. And as you can tell, blue is a color that I get energy from. I enjoy that color blue. A lot about communications here. So if you just close your eyes for a moment, let your shoulders relax. Take a deep breath into the count of 4. Hold it. Exhale to the count of 7. Do that 3 times. Deep breath into the count of 4. Hold. Exhale to the count of 7. Place your hand gently at your throat and imagine blue, maybe the waters of the ocean. This is all about self-expression and clear communication. But there's also the fear of being judged or rejection that might keep us from speaking the truth, hence the throat. If you've lived with oppression, speaking your mind may have been and still may feel dangerous. You also may be your toughest critic. Your impulse to speak and your impulse to stay silent can manifest in tension and throat problems. Your tension shows up in your neck and your shoulders. Things that can be calming to you can be blueberries. Visualizing a blue light surrounding your throat can increase your confidence. Writing and reading back out loud. This is a really interesting thing, that if you're stressed, even if you're charting, quietly be able to read what you've just typed is a way to calm yourself. Think about when you read to children. It's very calming for them. They kind of get lost in your words and in your feelings and how your tone of your voice is. You also are calmed by that voice, by being able to hear your voice. Poetry is also very calming. So be able to read out loud. And this is one of the things of communication and that color blue. The other thing about color blue is that it's stimulating. It creates a thinking tone for your brain. So for those of you who leave on your phones and your iPads, or you've got your TV on to the very last moment of your day, you're stimulating your brain. You're wanting your brain to continue to think. And so what you want to consider is maybe turning off that color blue, turning off the TV, the iPad, the phone, and leaving it off during the night. Definitely not those of you who have to be on call and you have to take the page. I understand that. But the idea that whenever your phone brightens, no matter what it is, and it doesn't ring, it just brightens, so it might be the Kohl's coupon at 3 o'clock in the morning, your brain alerts to that brightness and it comes up to the next higher level sleep cycle. So you're actually breaking your sleep cycle and becoming a little more alert. It won't wake you, but every time that screen brightens, it will bring you up. So you never really get a good sleep cycle going. You never really get to that deep sleep. And so you're feeling exhausted. That might be one of the things. So that might be something that you might try for your wellness if blue is that color for you. What about indigo? That's between your forehead and your eyebrows. That's about insight. You might dream a lot. If it's blocked, it could come up as confusion in your body. One way to calm is to use 2 fingers, small circles along your eyebrows. You can try that. All of you guys have your cameras off, so I can't see you, but try this. Just small circles along your eyebrows. Gentle massage at your temples. Also, if you've heard about tapping, that also starts here, where you can do tapping, and you do it along your jawline. You do it at your chest. There's different ways to do tapping. And again, that's a way to bring your attention to this instead of all the things out there and allow you to have some peace. And that's a really good thing. You might be a person that takes on too many things, or you have trouble delegating. You might find yourself strong-willed, and eventually you might get splitting headaches, maybe burnout. So here's the quote from Voltaire for you. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good, all right? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Allow yourself to ask for support. Decide what's really worth taking on. Share your responsibilities. Trust that you have colleagues that will do well. Create a worry list. Think about what's within your control and be accepting of yourself and celebrate what you can do. That worry list also has a whole lot to do with calming yourself at night. And if you find yourself waking up about 3:30 in the morning, it's because you're worried about something. And you want to be able to take care of that because your brain is just trying to fix it. It's ruminating about this thing you're worried about. It's going over scenarios and different ways to fix it. Write it down. Physically, pen and paper, write it down. Your brain will see it on paper. It'll say, you've got this. It'll allow you to rest. Try it out. I know it sounds simple. It works. Try it out, that worry list. You can even Google worry list and you'll see all kinds of information for that, okay? Listening to music is definitely within this color. That aromatherapy is wonderful, but that worry list is really a big thing there. All right, so the color purple is about 2 inches above your head and it radiates upward and outward. So imagine the feeling of water gently showering on the top of your head. That connects you to a higher self and purpose and enlightenment. And actually, if you are congested, if your sinuses are congested, get in the shower and let that water really go ahead and shower onto the top of your head, that cap of your head, and see if it doesn't open up your sinuses. That it's kind of an interesting self-care thing that you can do. Trauma will cause the feeling of numbness and trying to dissociate from pain if you're having any trauma with this area of wisdom. And then, you know, it's important that we process whenever there's trauma or near trauma, because over time your memory gets lodged with this trauma, and it gets stuck in your body and your limbic system, and you will find it hard to trust others. And so that's an important thing to think about if you have trouble with that maybe there's some things that you can work on. Maybe you wouldn't mind some coaching around that. But the first step to freeing yourself from this numbness is actually to recognize the power it has over you and taking the next step to unpack it, maybe with a coach or a counselor. What's really good here is neck stretches, just that gentle hovering your ear over your shoulder and come back to the center, and hovering your ear over the other side and come back to the center. Breathing, stretching. A good stretch for this area is one hand up, one hand down, and really pull. And then go the other way, one hand up, one hand down, and really pull. All right. So those are just some good things to unblock that area. Now, I know that self-care is not a luxury, that it is actually a necessity. And so it is all about balance, and it doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be perfect. Who you think you are is what holds you back, right? Who you think you are not is what holds you back. That's Simon Bailey from Shift Your Brilliance. Who you think you are not is what holds you back. Kind of an interesting thought to play with. A lot of times what we need to do is things like time management. Creating a schedule can bring some certainty into our lives. Have some priorities on that schedule. Be able to cross off things that you do. Celebrate that you did it. You did the laundry. Yes, you weren't down to your last pair of socks, right? Check in with a colleague each day. Join a study group. Embrace that whole idea of worrying. And what about gratitude? What if you took your phone right now and sent a text to somebody in gratitude? Thank you for being my friend. I love you. It was great to see you. I miss you. You're really a great nurse. You're a great student. You were really good on that last presentation. Thanks for being around. Thanks for helping me out. Thanks for being you. Go ahead and just do something randomly. And what I'll do is I'll try to remember at the very end, and we'll see if anybody gets a response from that, and we'll be able to share that. I've had some fun examples that I can share with you as well. But the idea is having those goals are really important. And they do have to include your body, your mind, and your spirit. Within your body, that breathing, that deep breathing does clear your mind because it increases your oxygen saturation. It opens you up, and it allows you to kind of take away from those emotions and just deal with the moment that you're at. When you do something physical, you're releasing endorphins and you feel good. And that long-term effect really does decrease your stress and inflammation. Within your mind, if you can do meditation, just if you did what we did earlier about hand over heart, taking those breaths and thinking about those positive affirmations each morning to start your day before you grab the phone is great. If you go to Headspace or Calm, there's some free parts to those apps that you can take advantage of just to allow yourself to be distracted enough from your day-to-day stuff and give yourself 5 minutes of just breathing is really good. Spiritually, there's a lot of opportunities that you want to look at what's out there and maybe reframe some of the things that felt negative to you, that maybe they are learning types of things that could be helpful. And many find strength in believing in a higher power, to be able to give it up to a higher power, and that's a good thing. If you've never done meditation, the idea is just to be able to breathe, to have that image in front of you. If you notice something distracting, to say that's distracting and come back to the breathing and continue that breath. And so you can maybe focus on how you're sitting in the chair, the feeling of your feet on the floor, the sensation of the breath in your body, all to kind of bring you to that attention so you're not dealing with the distractions. So those are very important. It's also important to be able to switch the script. So instead of saying, I have no energy to move, this next Netflix binge session is just keeping me from getting anything done. Well, maybe just one more. Find yourself there, like watching The Office over and over and over again, or any of those things that are very addicting, very easy when you have low energy to move. And what you really need to do is think about how you cannot feel bad about sitting there. You think like, oh, this is horrible, I'm not getting anything done. Instead, get up and move. Make a schedule for your day. And if you can, set a timer. So, okay, I'm going to watch one more, but set a timer so that when it goes off, you're going to get up out of the couch and you're going to put on music, because music is going to be able to distract your mind to get going and give you that energy, and it will help shift your mood. So it is an important thing that you think about what you can do when you're reframing or just kind of switching the script. We do have to admit that we're exhausted. That's important, that everybody has that level of exhaustion. And again, it's more that emotional exhaustion than physical. And by writing down the worries can help. By listening to stories, maybe you've got a good podcast. Maybe there's one called A Promised Land by Barack Obama that's part of his memoirs that some of you might find energizing. And there are some smiles in there that you're able to enjoy. So maybe while you're doing a task, put that on. Connecting with friends, even if you have to start off with how much you really do have to do, that a few minutes with a friend releases endorphins, it feels good. Another thing that's very helpful is that you think about how much of your work never ends, right? You finish a task and it continues on and on and on. So maybe you do one thing and you have something you would start and stop. We took a look at the January Declutter Challenge for 30 days, that you pick one thing each day to declutter. And of course, I'm not doing all 30 of them, but yes, I did the kitchen junk drawer. We did the pantry, looked for expired things. I did my closet, took out 5 things that I could donate. So those kind of things feel good because it's something you would start and finish. And I think that's a really helpful thing that you do. And if you want to know about that, it's called the Declutter Challenge. It's on everydaysavvy.com. So if you just Google Declutter Challenge, you can do that. And try to get back to a pattern of eating, moving, and sleeping, because a lot of times during the pandemic, we've lost a lot of our patterns, a lot of our certainty. And so we want to get some of that back. Now, there is some support for you that I want to share with you, and there's things that are going to bolster your wellness and keep you resilient. And you do want to take advantage of it, because what I'm going to share with you are things that are all free and here at Rush. And the very first thing is introducing you to the Center for Clinical Wellness. This is an actual brick and mortar place over on the first floor of the Triangle building. This is a picture of the conference room. There are some counseling rooms, and there is an energy pod. It's a small area, but it was funded by donations of philanthropists who really thought that Rush needed a center for this, because we were moving very rapidly toward the need for putting wellness as a priority before the pandemic happened. And actually, after all the planning and all the work, it opened the July that we started in the pandemic. So the timing was perfect, doing wellness rounds, having the wellness hub, having the wellness center, to be able to kind of offer support to staff and to students that wasn't there before. What you're seeing is the energy pod. Unfortunately, while we're not in person, there's no appointments for the energy pod, but when you can, please take advantage of that. It takes you 7 minutes to walk across the bridge to have an appointment for 20 minutes in the energy pod, or you can meet with a counselor or a coach to work on things like your priority, or how anxious you get before a presentation, or if things are feeling like they're piled up and you just can't get above it, that it might just be a one-time visit there and that's all you need. Or maybe you do a couple of visits to work on one topic and then you move on to another topic. That's another way to do that. So all of these things are free, and I really just want to underline that. Free for students, house staff, and employee. There is no session cap. It's part of your benefits. And so the idea of doing it virtually or in person is really a good thing to take an opportunity for. So you can do this 7 to 7, Monday through Friday. So if you don't want to walk over, you make a virtual appointment, do it on your day off. You've got the counseling, the coaching. You can use the QR code. That'll take you right to the Inside Rush page for Rush Wellness. And that's what you're looking for, Rush Wellness Inside Rush. Okay? And you're able to use that. This code will come up one more time for you, so you'll be able to look at it again. A lot of you talk about confidentiality and privacy, like you're not sure that you would feel comfortable. So the way that this facility is designed is that you come in by appointment. You're brought to a one-person waiting room, which feeds directly into the counseling room, which goes out to a common exit. And so it's really been thought about for those of you who are concerned about confidentiality, or you're able to do virtual visits. Documentation, it's not Epic, it's not MyChart, it is a separate thing so that you also have the ability to have confidentiality there as well. But our hope is really that you look at coaching or counseling for your mental health just the way you do for your physical health. That if somebody gave you a free access to the workout center, you'd probably find time to do that, or at least go work with a coach a couple times and figure out some of the best exercises to get you into shape. So why wouldn't you allow your mental health that same advantage, especially since it is free and the people that are there to help you are very highly professional and very good at what they do. What I'd also like to suggest is that there is another option. So the Center for Clinical Wellness that's on the left side of your screen is what we've been talking about, operated by Rush Wellness, 7 to 7, Monday through Friday. There is a pager, 852323, and if you put it in the computer, you're able to send a message of what you need, and within 60 minutes, you'll get one of us responding and connect you to resources, maybe talk through what the situation is and maybe what the right direction is for you to go. It is unlimited, it is free, and it is for Rush community members, which includes students, residents, and staff. On the other side of your screen, and I want to move this away in case you're seeing this black box there, is our EAP, or Rush Assistance Program. It is contracted through Rush by Perspectives. They're a partner of ours, 24/7. They also have telehealth and in-person. They have phone scheduling, which is on your screen. And here's where the difference is. 5 sessions are included, but then it switches over to your long-term provider. So there's a limit of 5 sessions. What's unique about it is that immediate family members and significant others can also take advantage of this. So if your child, if your sister, if your mother might need some coaching around something that's come up that's like bigger than they can handle at the moment, that you're able to allow this the Wellness Assistance Program to offer the coaching and counseling to them free of charge for those 5 sessions, okay? And then if they want to stay on, they're able to switch over to their long-term provider. I don't think we have any questions on this. I'm checking the chat, but if you do, please go ahead and let me know. I mentioned the pager before. If you're just feeling off, or if one of your colleagues is just not okay at the moment and just might need a little bit of coaching, that you're able to contact us with that 852323. So just go ahead and use that resource, because it's better to talk it through and maybe get connected to resources than have it turn a different way that you don't want to, that turn to alcohol or drugs or self-medicating, those type of things, that you really could avoid that just by making that call, by setting that pager. The Wellness Assistance Program we talked about, and again, there's that QR code that if you want to grab that quick, if that's helpful, you're able to do that. And so you have a lot of options to help your mental health. And so we really want you to be able to go to the wellness website, to take a look at the recordings, to take a look at the offering. The wellness newsletter is on there. There's quite a few different links that you can go to, including right now YogaWorks is free for Rush employees and students. And so how you get to it would be going to the Rush Wellness page, because it'll tell you what the code is and how to get in there. But really getting back to basics, hopefully you picked up some things about sleep, about moving, that 90 minutes or 20-20-20, about nutrition, a little tip, even 2% of dehydration will cause a longer processing time between your reaction center and your reasoning center. So that reptilian center, that fight, flight, freeze, moving over to that reasoning, 2% dehydration. And you want to be able to create a pattern so that you are, that you're able to have some certainty. Oh, I appreciate Sarah. Thank you so much. Yeah, for anybody who has to leave, that is fine. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. And I think the last thing that we wanted to do was just that relaxation. So we did talk about all of these things about your well-being. And so to take a look at all 5 pillars of well-being is so important. And so for those of you who can stay, who want to stay, have any questions, to please feel free, and we'll do 5 minutes of a relaxation exercise. And I will check the chat last time. I'm so glad, Diane, thank you for posting in the chat. I appreciate that. And I acknowledge you for taking time out for your self-care. Hopefully this helped and maybe gave you a tip or two that you might want to share and put into play today. All right. Okay. For those of you who are willing to be able to stay for a little bit, to be able to have a guided relaxation is what we're going to do next. And so a lot of times when I talked earlier about that exhaustion that might be emotional versus physical, you know, it's that we are tired and that we need to be out in nature. We need that green gray, and we need magic and adventure and truth. We need stillness. For those of you who had typed in about just unplugging, that's definitely. And we need to wake up to have that music and to live and not that constant worry and anxiety. So hopefully this next 5 minutes will be relaxing to you. So feet on the ground, sitting back in your chair, sitting up, hands in your lap. If you're comfortable, close your eyes or look down, taking 3 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. As you're doing that, I want you to bring your focus down to your toes. You're going to curl your toes like you're curling around a pencil, lifting your toes up, keeping your heels on the ground. Hold it for a moment. Put your feet flat and release the pencil. Do that again. Curl your toes. Bring those toes up off the ground. Heels are on the ground. Hold it for a moment. This is part of flow yoga. You're stretching your ankles. Put your feet flat on the ground. Wiggle your toes. This time, as you curl your toes, keep your feet flat. Tighten your calves and thighs. Hold them tight for a moment. Take a breath in, and on exhale from your hips, let those muscle groups relax all the way down to your toes. Last time with this muscle group, tighten your toes, calves and thighs, glutes and abs. You're sitting up nice and tall. Everything is tight. Hold it. Hold it another moment. Take a breath in and exhale from your hips. Relax all the way down to your toes. Wiggle your toes and take a deep breath. Next to your hands, I'd like you to clench your fists, thumbs on top, hold it tight, and quickly relax. Do that one more time. Clench your fists, thumbs on top, hold it tight, and quickly relax. This time, as you clench your fists, I want you to bring your elbows into your sides. Your arms are upper and lower are tight. Hold that. Breathe in, and on exhale, allow yourself to relax from your shoulders down to your hands. Stretch out your fingers. Do that one more time. Your fists are tight. Your arms are in. Hold those muscles tight. Bring your shoulders up and around. Engage your shoulder blades as you do these shoulder rolls. Your arms are still tight. Allow your shoulders to come down. Relax your arms. Open your hands. Stretch out your fingers and take a deep breath. If you feel tingling in your fingers, that's because you're opening up some of those pathways. You're getting some good oxygen. That's good stuff. Take your right hand over to the left side of your chair and then just gently pull. A nice stretch in your back. Come back to the middle. Take your left hand over to the right side. Again, gently pull. Bringing that over to the center and take that deep breath. As we mentioned earlier, for one of the colors, for energizing, let's do those neck stretches. The right ear over that right shoulder. Just let it hover and have that gentle stretch. Bring that back to the center. Over to the left side. Again, that gentle stretch. Back to the center. If you were doing this at night as part of a progressive relaxation, you would repeat everything twice. Bring your head to your chest so that those shoulders are down and you feel that stretch in the back of your neck. Come back to the center and allow your head to come back. Stretch your jaw and take a deep breath. Last muscle group is your facial muscles. Clench your jaw, purse your lips, hold it tight. Take a breath in and allow your jaw to relax. Take a breath. Clench your jaw, purse your lips, tighten your cheeks, your eyes. Kind of pull those muscles to the middle of your face, hold them tight. Got a good pucker going on. Hold it tight for another moment. Breathe in, and on exhale, push those muscles out to relax. And the last time here, clench your jaw, purse your lips, tighten your eyes, your eyebrows, your forehead, everything. Squish it all to the middle of your face. Hold it tight. Hold it for another moment. Breathe in, and on exhale, allow all of those muscles to relax. Raise your eyebrows, open your jaw, take a deep breath. Last thing we're going to do is stretch out in front. When you stretch overhead, I want you to take your left hand to your right wrist and pull to the left side. You might feel your back kind of stretched out. Take your right hand to that left wrist and pull to that right side. Again, bring those hands behind your back to that power center. Breathe in, good deep breath. Open up that chest. Bring your hands back to your lap. Have your eyes closed and just allow yourself 10 seconds of nothing. Thank you for being with us. Come visit us at the Center for Clinical Wellness on our website or at the physical space. I hope you enjoyed being here this evening. Thanks again for taking time out for your own self-care. I enjoyed doing this talk with you. We will end after I read this last one. You are very welcome, and I appreciate you. Thank you. All right. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.